Welcome to the IT Security One-to-One Summit podcast series. Listen to industry insiders discuss the most critical issues in IT security. Featured on this episode, David Cass, the Global Chief Information Security Officer for Cloud and SaaS Operations, IBM, talks with Hudson Harris, Chief Privacy Officer, Adapt of America. You are listening to the IT Security One-to-One Summit podcast series.
Hello, my name is David Cass. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for Cloud and SaaS Operations for IBM. I'm happy to be joined today by Hudson Harris, the Chief Privacy Officer for Adapt of America. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here, David. Thank you.
So, as a Chief Privacy Officer, you have a very challenging job. Privacy is more and more in the news every day, especially as somebody that's within the healthcare space. So could you speak to me about some of the key challenges you're dealing with as a Chief Privacy Officer?
One of the biggest challenges we face is getting buy-in from employees all the way up through management level to understand the importance of privacy, how to encourage people to look out for other people's privacy, and then how to really kind of build a culture of privacy around our entire operation.
So that's actually a very challenging point. So how do you help drive that privacy awareness throughout an organization?
I'm a big fan of small, consistent touches on privacy. From a training perspective, one large privacy training or two small privacy trainings each year, but then consistent touches either through email, person-to-person contacts, site visits, but always kind of keeping privacy at the forefront so that people are always aware that that's something that we're thinking about, and really getting them to feel like they are the guardians of the information that they're either taking in or viewing or working with.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, as you mentioned, privacy is really everyone's responsibility, and making sure it's understood across the organization is extremely important. Especially, being in the healthcare space, are there any unique challenges that you're facing? One
of the biggest challenges, I think, us as well as a lot of other organizations face is the right to see. My clients, if I'm a clinician, I see my clients. I shouldn't be able to have access to all the clients I don't see, and I think that's going to be an emerging issue coming up for a lot of different healthcare organizations, is that right to know. Why do you need access to this data if you never see this person, if they're not on your client list? So I think that'll be a big and upcoming issue.
Yeah, and privacy is one of those things that continue to evolve. There's more than 80 countries right now with varying degrees of privacy laws, and that's increasing on a regular basis. For people that are looking to enter the privacy space or just new to the privacy space, what kind of guidance or recommendations would you have for them?
Read. The more you can read, there's a plethora of good authors out there that are writing. There's organizations like the IAPP, the International Association of Privacy Professionals, that can give primers that are completely free and available online, where you can start to kind of understand the basics from a country perspective, like the U.S., or from a more international perspective like the EU, Asia, and whatnot.
Also, I'd like to get your perspective. Now more so than ever, it seems information security and privacy are being really tightly interwoven. What kind of relationship do you have with your security teams, and how do you guys work together?
I think the best teams are the ones that are just one team. The privacy and security team is how I work with my clients to view it, so that you have the Chief Information Security Officer, the Chief Privacy Officer, preferably one of them has a relationship or a role in the General Counsel Office to tie in legal, and then the Security Officer has a role to tie them to IT. And so you have those two individuals, and then you build a team so that everybody's working together at once, as opposed to two siloed units kind of butting heads and figuring out what works best.
No, that's great, and I think as a practitioner as well, both within the security and privacy space, I think having a good, close working relationship is essential. Because with the digital age, where everything is now digital, it's very, very hard or impossible to be able to do good privacy without security. You really need both working together in sync. And even within that space, from a privacy point of view, what do you see as some of the next challenges coming on the horizon?
I think one of the biggest challenges facing privacy and security teams in general is getting that executive level buy-in. I think a lot of organizations have recognized the fact that they need to respect privacy of their clients and the data that they're keeping, but I think that view and that opinion oftentimes stops at that privacy team, and it's getting the executive C-suite individuals involved in that team to not only have ownership over the privacy of the organization, but view it as a value-added aspect, not just another compliance department they have to fund. It's revenue negative or revenue neutral at best.
I'm a big advocate of practicing privacy by design. I think all of us that are within the industry that are regular practitioners of it. So can you speak to some of the benefits of that, and how do you bring that kind of discipline into an organization?
So we develop a lot of software that is based in privacy by design. So for instance, if a clinician is out in the field or an EMT is out in the field and they're viewing someone's medical record, they should only ever be able to see the smallest amount of information possible to do their job. So we code software in a way that encapsulates the privacy from the very beginning as a core foundation of anything we're doing. It's not something we're adding on after the fact. It's not a checkbox to say, hey, keep me private. All the defaults are private. The software is geared towards only allowing the smallest bits of information that are necessary to get things done, and then protecting them and then taking them, if it's a mobile device, taking them off the mobile device after they're done using them. Those types of things are a kind of a core fundamental principle for us as far as how we design software and how we really want our products to be leveraged in the healthcare space.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you guys are really taking the next level approach and steps from that point of view, especially as more and more cyber attacks and cyber threats seem to move industries, and we've seen more and more that healthcare has been coming under attack on a regular basis. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago that a big hospital was attacked with ransomware.
Well, you saw last year had more PHI breaches than all of the prior years since they've reported combined. I mean, and granted, there were a couple large-scale ones, but there were lots of smaller scales. That 500 to a million record count was pretty prevalent last year. It's the game is changing.
Yeah, and actually, that's a real good point. I like to try to use the incidents that I see in the news and things like that as learning points. Do you bring any of that back to your organization, and how do you share what some of those learnings would be?
I think one of the hard things is to avoid the fear tactics when you're trying to encourage people towards a privacy mindset, but I think they're good object lessons. You look at some of the biggest breaches prior to this past year, were things like lost thumb drives, allowing IT into closets without verifying whether or not they were IT, failure to challenge individuals walking into offices. Some of the biggest breaches that OCR has reported on were someone walking in and saying, I'm with IT, and they walk out with 3 unencrypted laptops and 750,000 records. And so I think you can make object lessons out of those events without focusing on the fear of what's going to happen if you don't type thing. So,
yeah, and I definitely think it's going to be a very challenging time for you as well, because healthcare is one of those great spaces where you have to balance the need for the advances in technology, advances in science of how do you benefit the greater good and still protect everybody's privacy at the same time. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the IT Security One-to-One Summit podcast series. To listen to other podcasts or for more information on the IT Security One-to-One Summit, visit us at one2onesummits.com/ITSec. That's ONE2ONE summits.com/ITSEC.